Joining us on the line is former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. Mr. Speaker, I just got to tell you, I was sort of surprised that Harry Reid actually went forward and employed the nuclear option yesterday. As a person who served not only as Speaker of the House, but who understands the history of the institution of Congress, were you surprised that it actually happened?
No, not in the long run I wasn't. There's been a steady increase in partisanship on both sides. The Democrats were so desperate to stop George W. Bush at a time when the Republicans had both the House and the Senate that they went all out starting in 2003. People need to remember that the first filibuster of an appeals court judge was in 2003 against somebody that Bush wanted to nominate who was Latino in background, had a terrific record, and represented a real threat to the Democrats because it would have given us a potential future Supreme Court nominee. So they went all out. That led the Republicans to threaten the so-called nuclear option. That's been now reversed as the Democrats are desperate to get people through in order to pack the courts with their kind of folks as part of the legacy. So there's been a steady increase in partisanship over comity in the Senate, and this is one of the natural outcomes.
And that is really what it's all about, because right now there is nothing to stop Harry Reid and the Democrats who control the Senate and the President of the United States from packing the courts while they're in power.
That's right, and I think it's a deliberate calculus on their part that they are never going to regain control of the House, and that if they can't dominate the executive branch appointments, they can't leave a permanent legacy. They're not going to get any more major legislation that's left-wing through the House. And so you're going to see a reliance on executive orders and a reliance on what I think are, frankly, illegal waivers, and then this whole effort to pack things. What it will do next, if you saw the President's press conference yesterday, and we got into this on Crossfire last night, is you're going to see them extend this and gradually erode the filibuster completely. And Senator Bernie Sanders, who was on with us last night on Crossfire, said, that actually he would agree. He didn't know if that's what they would do, but he would certainly agree with it. Well, what that does is it gives you two House of Representatives. It eliminates what has been for over 200 years the single place where the minority could slow down momentum. And it means the first time you get a Republican House, Senate, and President, the amount of repeal of Democratic legislation you'll see in the opening 90 days will be astonishing.
Speaker Gingrich, you just mentioned something there that I think we really need to focus on. The very first filibuster of a federal appointee happened when in 2003 against a Bush appointee.
Well, that was for an appeals court judge,
okay,
which is what this fight's all about.
And so now let's just, because their big talking point yesterday was, well, this is unprecedented what they've done to Barack Obama, because in the whole history of the Senate, half of the filibusters of these appointees have happened during Obama's administration.
This is such a dishonest and deliberate lie that it just fits the whole pattern of you get to keep your policy and the whole range of things in which they have just routinely now lied, including Benghazi. I mean, Harry Reid deliberately established cloture votes on judges who were not going to be stopped in order to drive the count up. So according to Senator Grassley, who's the ranking Republican in Judiciary, half the people that they count were not in any way slowed down. And we had Senator Hoeven on from North Dakota last night who made the point over 99% of Obama's appointments have been approved in the Senate.
Yeah.
This is a deliberate falsehood, and it's part of a whole pattern now of routinely making things up that really is, I think, the most discreditable use of public leadership, because when you lie to the American people over and over and over, and just take the three examples I gave you, you get to keep your plan if you want to, your policy if you want to, Benghazi, and now this. They just have a routine habit now of not telling the truth.
Yeah, I could get off on a whole other topic about that, but just getting back to this nuclear option thing, it's interesting because you say that they're going to do everything they can to pack the courts. And the thing that maybe you don't think about immediately when you say, well, that's not a good thing, perhaps, but when Republicans are in control, they'll undo. Look, if you pack the courts, all the available openings on the courts right now with liberal activist jurists, then it makes it very, very difficult to undo the things that the Obama administration has done through rules, through regulations, through executive order. It makes it really, really hard to undo that stuff.
Sure, but what it would lead to is, if the Republicans are clever, first of all, the House Republicans can start defunding judicial positions. And then you get back into the same fight we're in over shutting down the government, because the president will go berserk, claim it's how can they do this? This is terrible. But there's no requirement that you have the current number of court seats.
And in fact, the number of filings in the federal courts is down.
Right. So you can make a good fiscal responsibility argument. Second, what you've just argued, which is I think correct, is that the Federalist Society and others better go to work on what are the provisions for eliminating the influence of packed courts on the first Republican combination of president and Congress. Because remember, the president and the Congress can decide what can be taken to court. They can decide which court they go to. They could create whole new courts. I mean, what we did in 100 days, what FDR did in 100 days, what Reagan did in 100 days, what these guys have now done is there is no blockage for liberals the day they lose power. They will see virtually everything they believe in taken apart within 100 days.
The former Speaker of the House and 2012 presidential candidate Newt Gingrich is our guest. By the way, his brand new book, Breakout, is out, and you've got a book signing, Mr. Speaker, in the D.C. area at Tyson's Corner. This is tomorrow at 2 o'clock p.m., right?
Yeah, well, Calista will be there with her brand new book, Yankee Doodle Dandy, which is doing very well, and which, by the way, ironically, is about the American Revolution. It's Alice the Elephant teaching 4 to 8-year-olds about why we're exceptional. And I have a hunch that the lessons of American history, which she's trying to teach 4 to 8-year-olds, would have been well served in the U.S. Senate yesterday, because what Reid did yesterday fundamentally destroyed the Senate as a traditional institution.
It upends Federalist Paper number 62, what James Madison wrote specifically about the Senate and the purpose of the Senate. Like you said, Mr. Speaker, we have 2 House of Representatives now.
That's right, and I think people have not even begun to realize how profound a change this is. And again, it's one that both parties were drifting towards out of frustration. The Senate as an institution decayed dramatically, and comity disappeared, this whole sense of you're a senator, I'm a senator, we need to get along. The Bob Byrds and the Jesse Helms and the people who in the last generation understood that you had to have some compact. You had to have some understanding. It's a point that last night, even Stephanie Cutter, who's my partner in hosting last night at Crossfire, said, she used to work for Teddy Kennedy. Teddy Kennedy would have seen this as a tragic decision.
Right. Even Stephanie Cutter. All right, thanks, Newt Gingrich.
The saucer that cools has been broken.
That's exactly